Hello and welcome to episode 72 of the new and improved Loaded Sport. We've had a little bit of a business meeting this week and we've decided to make some changes to the usual layout to give you something new and, like I just said, improved and hopefully a more engaging product and something that not only you will enjoy, but will enjoy doing too. So we are scrapping the previous format of talking about the current happenings in the sporting world and reviewing and previewing what's happened and what's going to be happening between this and the next episode. And instead, we are going to start each bringing a question to the table for us all to discuss our opinions and hopefully fall out and have a go at Adam when he brings the most ridiculous answers to the table. So before we get stuck into it, and you will very quickly, and what the new format is going to be, I will, of course, introduce our team. Sam, first of all, mate, how are you, mate? How's your week been?
Yeah, good, mate, good. Raring to go. Brand new style of episode. So it's like a new beginning. Let's have it.
It is, mate. And we've tried to have a bit of a play about with the settings to have everyone in view at all times, which should hopefully reduce the amount of messing about. But we won't know if it's worked until the recording drops in the inbox later tonight. So everyone on your best behaviour. And I've said that there because that's mainly aimed at Sam. A guy that we have absolutely no worries or concerns on whether he's going to be dropping any body parts out or showing any inappropriate pictures. Aggy, the best behaved of the bunch. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm glad that we are very quickly approaching the weekend.
Yeah, same. I've gone for very different. You're going to be disappointed to know that I've dropped the headband theme and I've started putting hair bubbles in now. And as Sam pointed out yesterday in our group chat, I've started wearing it as David Beckham circa Real Madrid days.
G-Nev. Oh, Sam making the claim. Surprised Kemp's ears haven't picked up. He's clearly not paying attention.
Kemp is paying attention. He just can't believe it.
Yeah, that's
how's about you go and fuck yourself, eh, Kemp?
What?
Adam, who made that claim?
Sam made the compliment, so that's the one I paid more attention to.
That's about right.
Who compared it to a prime Real Madrid David Beckham, though?
That would be Tom Kemp.
That would be Tom Kemp. So just check back on your wording again, mate. There's a theme of that running through the day today. #journo. But anyway, let's move on because the man that is sat there patiently waiting and potentially on screen wondering what's going on when this episode is released in the very near future, Mr. Thomas Kemp. How are you, my friend?
Mr. Dawson, Mr. White, man with the mic, you David Beckham Galacticos looking sloop you. I am very well, thank you, on this Thursday evening as we record Peek Behind the Curtain. Looking forward to the weekend. I'm sure we'll get into what's going on. But yeah, very excited about the new dawn of Loaded Sport. And I'm sure there'll be some fiery conversation in Loaded Sport tonight. So hopefully everybody enjoys and hopefully nobody falls out too badly.
Well, we never know, mate. If one of us is missing in episode, anyone's missing in episode 73, it's because we fell out over the next hour or so, but we'll soon find out. So basically the format is this. Each week, we will each bring one question to the table. It could be football related. It could be NFL related. It could be anything sports related. It could be sports films, whatever you want, as long as it relates to sport. It could be current, historical, whatever you want to discuss. We will then each give our answers to that question and obviously discuss further based on the answers and the reasons why. So the order in which we're going to do it has been determined by the trusty wheel. It has made its comeback. We've dusted it off since we put it in the loft following our locks, scorers and wildcards. And the first person to kick us off in the new era of Loaded Sport is Mr. Sam White.
Let's have you. Come on. First up, setting a precedent. Start as we mean to go on. Very first question of the new format. Okay, so you are a multi-billionaire. Money is no object to you. If you're looking to buy a football team, that has to be in the Football League or Premier League, so no National League and below. Which team are you buying and why? Aggy, I'm going to you first.
Good question. I'm going to go with Blackburn Rovers. I think is going to be my choice.
Blackburn! See you later, lads. I'm off.
And that's the new era of Loaded Sport, everybody. We'll see you next week for episode 73.
Why Blackburn, mate? Why? Come on.
I've gone with Blackburn because, of course, the history of the Premier League, having won it before, quite a bit of history in Europe. Done a bit of, obviously a downward spiral at the moment, 17th in the Championship, really struggling. So I feel that I'll be able to take over that club, try and steady the ship and help get them back on the up to their previous successes. Looking at the manager's aspect of things, because I've gone that in depth about this, I'm going to look at either Neil Warnock as a short-term option or Chris Wilder as a longer-term option. I think
he's had Kemp answering this, or Aggy, what's happening here?
Jesus.
Got Aggy on backup just in case.
I am that. Aggy's due a call coming in just in case they say no.
Can't believe he didn't say John Sheridan there.
No, all that until the inevitable happens and Everton sack Sean Dyche, and then he's going to take us back to the top of the Premier League. But yeah, I think Blackburn have had it quite rough since the last.
Can you say Blackburn, please? Can you address them properly? Blackburn.
Who've I just said?
Blackburn.
I think I've got a theory as to why Ags picked Blackburn.
Go on.
By the way.
Go on.
So the last time somebody like a local bloke come in, took over his club, put a fuckload of money into it and got him to the promised land was Jack Walker in the early 90s, right? Ags looked at all this foreign investment and thought,
don't want any of that.
Proper British men invested in football clubs, and Ags took the lead on Jack Walker. So Ag thinks he's Jack Walker reincarnated, I reckon, to be fair.
Probably on something there.
They've had a lot of success in the past, so take him back today.
Yeah, no, it's a decent answer, mate. To be fair, I don't know about you boys, but Blackburn for me just seems like a fucking dead team at the minute. And fair play for you to picking them. Fair play to you.
You've not heard mine yet, lad.
Really? Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. Go on then, Kemp. You go next. Who you gone for?
So I've gone with something a little bit different. I'm not thinking about fame, glory, or titles like that selfish prick Ag. I'm thinking about football heritage and the fact that this club was stripped away from its fans and moved many, many miles away. So the club that I would like to purchase with all my money, Mr. White, is AFC Wimbledon.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one.
The reason that I've gone for AFC Wimbledon is because not this time last year, about 10 months ago, my work's Christmas do was actually at the MK Stadium where the MK Dons play. 30,000 seater stadium, really, really nice facility. But it's just soulless. Even when there were no fans in there, you could just tell it was completely soulless. And the owner of MK Dons, literally, he bought Wimbledon and he ripped the heart and soul out of the club, moved it to Milton Keynes. Nobody wanted it. They started a Phoenix club, obviously, FC Wimbledon, who are doing pretty well now in League Two, and they're doing okay. They've just moved into a new stadium, so that's, it looks good for them in that respect. But I just think the fans that were robbed of, Wimbledon were in the Premier League. Not too long ago, Wimbledon were in the Premier League. So you look at the fans that were robbed of their club, essentially, and I just feel really, really sorry for them. I think they've got a really decent history. They were a really good club, a crazy, quirky club back in the day. If you remember Crazy Gang. Yeah, like a really crazy, quirky club that was always for the fans. And their shithouse of an owner basically took it all away from them. So for me, being the good Samaritan that I am, I want to bring AFC Wimbledon back to the forefront and reinvest back in football in Wimbledon. So that's why my decision's made there.
I don't think 1 sec again. I'll come to you after this one, but I don't think your answer is probably going to be top there, Kemp. And just when you mentioned it, Crazy Ag there, I've just straight away remembered the story of Cloughie going to his bloke saying, "You go down there, son, and tell them not to go and turn that music down." They got boombox into the dressing room, and he's gone down. He's turned it down. 5 minutes later, music's even twice as loud as the way before. He goes in, he fucking smashes it against the wall. Cloughie does. He goes, I told you not to turn it down. Vinnie Jones, everyone's just stood there thinking, what the fuck hell is it? It's Cloughie. Like, didn't know what to do. Fucking brilliant. Just reminded me of that when he said Crazy Gang there. Yes, Kim, what were you going to say, mate?
It was just a very quick question for Kemp. Aggy obviously mentioned potential managerial appointments that he'd make. I'm assuming, Kemp, that there's only one man for the job, and it is a name mentioned by Sam there, and it's the return of Vinnie Jones to lead them back to the top.
No, unfortunately not. I would want to be a fairly serious owner, and I think bringing Vinnie Jones in I think my first action as owner bringing Vinnie Jones in might be a bit of a joke. So I think I would go with Steve Evans to take over. Classic Steve Evans at Wembley running down the touchline. If anybody remembers that for Rotherham, about 40 stone running his little art flashing. But yeah, I think Steve Evans has proven that he's quite a decent manager in the lower leagues, and I think he's really good to kind of get a fan base rallying around him as well and get that good feeling back in the club. And that's what I'd want to be as an owner. So Steve Evans, I think, would be my first choice.
Good answer, mate. Very good answer. I promise you now, though, if he is truly 40 stone, like you said, he definitely hasn't got a little heart. He'll be very, very enlarged, I think.
mate, I tell you now, I don't know what heart he's got, but it's efficient as fuck because he ran straight down that touchline. Give Usain Bolt a run for his money then, yeah.
Right, Skin. Second to last. Who are you going for, mate? Yes.
So this is not my team, but new Goal, the film. I don't know if any of you will have seen it. Santiago Munez.
Yeah.
Obviously based around Newcastle, and one of the lines in the film about it is around the selling him the dream of the city and the culture and the football club was that there's Manchester have got 2 teams, Liverpool's got 2 teams, London's obviously got several teams, and a lot of major cities up and down the country have got multiple teams, but in Newcastle there's only one. Plot twist or plot hole, sorry, because they've got Gateshead. But anyway, and a big team, very similar to what Aggy said there, that have dropped down the levels compared to where they once were and things like that. And also that idea of culture and city and one team. And I landed on Sunderland.
Okay.
Now, Sunderland are a team as well, been in the Premier League, been relatively successful, dropped down in recent years. They went as low as League One. Obviously, I was at the playoff final a couple of years ago that got back into the Championship, and they've seemed to have stabilised themselves in the Championship and are in around the playoffs, despite it being very early into the season. So I want to give you a few stats, lads, if you wouldn't mind, as to what sort of led me to that. So
always
a very, very strong fan base. The last season that they had in League One, which was 2 and a bit years ago now, they averaged an attendance of 33,000 in League One. That was 10,000 more than the team in second place, which is obviously such a massive percentage difference. Last season, which was the first season back in the Championship, they averaged 39,000, which is 11,000 more than second place. And then this season so far, again, early doors, but they're averaging 41.6k as an average home attendance, which is 6,000 more than Leeds in second place. So if that doesn't tell you everything about the culture, the meaning to the club, to still be pulling in 33,000 when you're in League One, it speaks volumes for the investment from the fans. Also, that 41.6k that they're averaging so far this season would put them 8th in the Premier League if they were in the Premier League, which is, again, says everything. So I think with the correct investment, being very savvy and the business plan, you're going to get buy-in from the fans. And I think based on your questions, Sam, having that money and really rebuilding a club, I think Sunderland's a great shout based on those figures that I've given you there.
It's a fantastic shout, and you know what? They actually come into my thought process as well when I was thinking about this question and what club to pick, and they did come into my head for the exact reason you mentioned with the Newcastle there. It's same sort of logic that I think Sheikh Mansour said when he took over City. He wanted someone to rival that one team, United, in that city, and I did kind of think the same. So yeah, I think it's a banging suggestion. And in regards to their fan attendance, it's funny you say that because last season, obviously, I had a conversation with Kemp, and I said how good Derby's home attendance was like is last year. Say we were in League One, and it pissed me off every single week because I'd always check on Twitter. I'd always see who's average attendance in the Football League. Always looking for Derby. We're always ranked top 3, and I'm thinking we can get one day. And they were always fucking Sunderland at top. I kept thinking, you bastards. They never once. I think every single time they were at home, there were no shaking them from number 1. So yeah, it's I can definitely back you up on the attendance. They have been fantastic. Which I guess leads me last but not least. So I am going for a bit more of a boring one compared to you boys. You've all gone quite romantic,
rebuild.
You're bringing a team up to where they feel like they should be. I'm just trying to pile on the success here, and I'm going for Tottenham Hotspurs. Purely reason. I think they're established and they're there. The team is fully set up to go there. They're fully set up to take the next step, I think. And Daniel Levy, as we all know, is not really the most liked man in football. So negotiating with him to try and buy the club off him for one, I think I'm pissing it.
Money's not an object, mate. Money's not an object.
Even still, I still think it'll be a fucking nightmare. I could offer him 10 billion to buy a club, and I still think he wouldn't accept first offer. So I think I'm fighting a losing battle trying to take the club off for him. But I just think they've obviously got the new stadium, which is probably the best stadium in England, bar Wembley. I think as as an actual unit, I think it's probably a bit better than Wembley. I think
it's the best sports facility in England, in my opinion.
Yeah. Obviously, you've recently just been, and what a stadium. So I think they've always been on the brink, primed for success. I think the first thing I'd do, is I'd bring Harry Kane back to the Premier League. That'd be like my number.
What if he didn't want to come back?
I'd drag him, mate. I'd drag him. He wouldn't have a choice. I think, look, you've left to win trophies. You're going to come here to win trophies. I'm going to pump a shitload of money into the team. Let's get past Arsenal. Let's get past City. And I think Tottenham would be a team that's ready for that next big amount of investment, because Daniel Levy seems to have hit a bit of a ceiling in regards to that. So I think Tottenham would be my pick, and just try and challenge City on that spending front.
Like it, get them over that line of being the bottle jobs and the nearly men and almost
That's
getting there. And no, I like it, mate. Like you said, it was different, but I still think it's a very fair and valid answer, mate. And not be bad to get them box seats for the NFL games free of charge, will it?
Yes, please. That's the only reason I'm doing it. Really, I've got a long way around saying that, but it's just so I can watch NFL. That's all. Yeah,
I've got it, mate. I've got it, and bring the Packers over every year.
Yeah.
Having that TK link up with Wembley for Jags. But anyway, so that's you, Sam. How do you feel? First question of the new era. How does it make you feel?
Yeah, I think it went quite well, mate. Actually, quite enjoyed hearing all your flawed opinions on why you're all wrong and I'm right. But there we go. Yeah, I think it went quite well.
Yeah, that is what it is. Next up, Mr. Thomas Kemp, what is your question of the week? Are you going football? Are you going NFL? Or are you going to try and sprinkle a little combat and get an answer out of Aggy?
Yeah, I think definitely on the horizon, I can see a little combat question coming up.
I'm all for that.
But if I did that, I'd have to tell Aggy about 6 weeks in advance, so he could do plenty of research before we get cracking. But yeah, thank you, Mr. Dawson. My question for you boys, and this is a question, and the reason that I bring this up is because when we were doing the original, the OG, the old format of Loaded Sport, I briefly mentioned who I thought was the best player in Premier League history. Now, when I said who I thought it was, I thought the response from everybody else was going to be, yeah, but actually it wasn't, which is what led me to this question here. So my question is, who is the best player to ever play in the Premier League, but it's only based on their career whilst in the Premier League? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll start with Sam. We'll start with you.
I have a feeling you're coming to me. You know what? I've given it a good thought, and I do remember the conversation that you had with Thierry Henry and your man. I don't know if that's who you're picking now. I'd assume so, but and you know what? I will give you your flowers here, because the more I have sat and thought about this question, it is kind of coming to the forefront of mind quite more and more often, Thierry Henry. But for the sake of variety, I am going for a different person. I am going for Cristiano Ronaldo. I think at his peak for Man United, I personally don't think there's been a better player in the Premier League. I was just looking through a couple of his stats earlier. 103 goals in 236 games, 37 assists, which average something like 0.6 goals per game. So unbelievable involvement in the game ratio. It won the Golden Boot, a two-time Player of the season, 3-time Premier League winner, and he got Player of the Month 6 times. So just a couple of stats of him there. Obviously, United bought him. It was bought him from Sporting Lisbon, and he's shown flashes. And I think they played him in a friendly game, I think, and they've seen a lot of things they liked from him.
Yeah. So the story goes, if you're not aware of the actual story itself, is that they played him in a friendly game. And it was actually Carlos Queiroz, the former assistant, who suggested that they go and play Sporting and get kind of a bit of a relationship with him. So they went and played him in a friendly. And obviously Ronaldo played for Sporting Lisbon, and they were playing, and I think he was playing against John O'Shea. And he was absolutely fucking destroying John O'Shea, like ruining him. And John O'Shea Fergie was shouting to O'Shea, "Tackle him, get near him, come on, John, have it." And he's going, "Gaffer, I can't. Literally, I can't." And I think the story goes, and how true this is or not, maybe it's a folk tale. But after the game, Ferguson wouldn't leave Sporting Lisbon's stadium until he confirmed that they were going to sign Cristiano Ronaldo. and apparently the players were waiting on the bus for about 2 hours afterwards while he was doing all the negotiations and stuff like that. But he was absolutely determined that he wasn't going to leave Sporting without getting Cristiano Ronaldo's signature. So it's a good story about him. But Sam, just sort of a follow-up question on that, really. And
yes, mate.
Nobody can deny Cristiano's career. He's going to go down when it's all said and done as one of the greatest to ever do it. And I'm not going to get into any Messi Ronaldo conversations here, but in terms of his Premier League career, I think a lot of people maybe don't say Ronaldo purely because he was still quite, not early in his career, but he did go to Real, I would say maybe just as he hit his peak or maybe just before he hit his peak. So what would you say to people who say, yeah, he's maybe one of the greatest players to ever play the game, but in the Premier League, maybe we've not got a big enough sample size?
I think sample size, definitely. I mean, like I say, 236 games is it's nothing to be sniffed at. That's multiple seasons there, and I completely agree with you. United definitely didn't get the best version of Cristiano Ronaldo, which only speaks for himself. For me, he's being the greatest, and he just hit another level when he went to the Galacticos at Real Madrid, and they just pushed on from there. So, yeah, for me, he's the greatest Premier League player of all time. And let's not forget, he was a right midfielder for probably 90% of the games he played at United, and he
was for pretty much all of them.
Yeah, and he were playing now. I think towards the back end, I'm sure him and Rooney were played up top a fair bit. I'm sure he did. And Park Ji-sung played behind him at right mid, but like I say, that was towards the back end of like 08, 09 sort of thing. So for me, he was the best talent. I think he had everything. He had the height, he had the power, the pace. He could head the ball. He could score with both feet. And he could score from about 40 yard out as well. So for me, he was the complete package of a Premier League player, and the most naturally talented, I think, at his peak for me.
Yeah,
just to very quickly put some context on what you said, Kemp. Ronaldo was 24 when he left United to go to Madrid, so just a bit of context there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? When you think of all the moments that he had for Man United, and you think of all the amazing, legendary moments that he had for him, Portsmouth, Porto, Champions League final, all these things that he did, and he left when he was 24. How crazy is that? But yeah, Sam, really good shout there. Cristiano Ronaldo, Dos Santos Aveiro for you. Dawson, you are next on the podium. Who are you saying?
I'm rubbing my hands, mate, because I'm hoping you might disagree with me and might make for a bit of spicy content. But the man that I have gone for is, in my opinion, the greatest player to ever play in the Premier League is a certain Mr. Wayne Rooney.
Yeah. I'll get behind you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, hang on, I'm just going to text Mrs. and just tell her I won't be coming to bed tonight because
it's going to be a long one.
We're going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one. But yeah, go on, Dawson. Give us your reason as to why Rooney's the best player in the Premier League ever, and I'll educate you afterwards.
Okay, no worries, mate. I know it is. My backup was Gareth Bale, just as an FYI. Anyway, obviously Wayne Rooney made his debut for Everton at a sprightly young age of 16 and scored that wonder goal against Arsenal that you may remember with Clive Tilsley's infamous commentary line of "Remember the name Wayne Rooney," and had that big money move, about 30 million to Manchester United at just 18 years old. 30 million, not really looked at these days, but back then was certainly a massive fee for a teenager, and just phenomenal. Very similar, really, to Sam's reasons for Ronaldo. Third top scorer in Premier League history, 208 goals. Manchester United's all-time top goal scorer, despite the plethora of phenomenal strikers and goal scorers they've had over the years. Speed, power, both feet, heading, exactly what Sam said there. His passing, his link-up play, his tenacity in defending and that teamwork and everything. Just the I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but that Fergie sort of setup where he was everything to that. He could get up and down the field like nothing. He could ping a pass 40 yards. He could score goals from, again, 30, 40 yards, or headers in the box, or stick a foot out, in the middle of big set piece and put the ball in the back of the net. Just absolutely everything that I think you would want in a player. I know Kemp's going to bring in his lifestyle and what he could have done if he'd looked after himself. But look, not everyone is a modern athlete. Not everyone is the Cristiano Ronaldo who looked after themselves phenomenally. I think you can only base it on what he did do. And I don't think that you can undersell that because of what he might have been able to do if he didn't smoke or if his diet was good or whatever it is, you know, that we might downplay it. Third highest top goal scorer in Premier League history with 208 goals, starting scoring at 16 years of age, had everything that you would want in a football player, and quite arguably England's most talented footballer ever. I know a lot of people say Paul Gascoigne, a lot of people will eventually probably say Jude Bellingham, but Wayne Rooney is right up in there, and he did deliver. You look at the trophies he won, you look at the amount of Premier Leagues he won, it isn't like he was a wasted talent or he should have been something and he never was. The stats say that he was. So for me, it's Wayne Rooney. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. And I think, to be fair, I do want to correct maybe some people's thinking on my opinion of Wayne Rooney, because I think people think that I hate him. And I might have played up to that and whatever. But my opinion of Wayne Rooney, and it pretty much always has been from as long as I can remember, is that I think he's the most talented player that England have ever had. I think he's more talented than Gascoigne, and at this stage in his career, even though Bellingham's doing unbelievably well, let's not get it twisted. I think when I first saw Wayne Rooney play when I was a young boy, I thought, Jesus Christ, I've never seen anything like that before. Maybe a lot of us thought the same thing. My issue with Wayne Rooney is that he had everything kind of going for him, and when he was young, you could see that work ethic, you could see that desire, you could see that drive. And again, you're absolutely right, Skin, in that, you know, yes, not everybody's the modern athlete, and I completely agree with you. I just think Wayne Rooney could have contributed a lot more, especially for England, than he did based on his talent. And the reason that I don't think that he did that is because he wasn't as professional as a lot of other players potentially were. And I think his talent carried him for a lot of his career. And again, I don't think he was he was a very, very good player. He was a top player. Wayne Rooney was a top player. Let's not get it twisted. But my argument always has been is maybe the what I define as world class. So my initial statement on Rooney was that he was never world class. And the reason that I say that is because world class, in my opinion, is not, he's a really good player, so he's world class, which tends to be a lot of other people's opinions of what world class means. World class is, are you the best player in the world at your position in that particular season? And for me, throughout Rooney's career, he was never that. That's just my opinion. He was never that. There was always somebody that was better than him. And for me, with the talent that he had, I think he could have been that at some point if he'd have just worked a little bit harder and been a bit more disciplined. But I do want to throw something back at your Skin. And there you mentioned that maybe my opinion on Rooney and my disagreement on Rooney might come from the fact that, his work ethic, etc. But I just do want to run something past you. So he played for 13 seasons for Manchester United. I think it was between 2004 and 2017. In those seasons, how many times in those seasons do you think Wayne Rooney scored 20 goals or more in the Premier League?
I don't think he ever did, if I remember rightly.
So he scored 20 goals or more in the Premier League twice in 13 years. Yeah. Now for me, when you look at a top striker, the barometer of a top striker is a 20-goal a season man. That's what I think anyway. That's my personal opinion. For Wayne Rooney to be the best player in the Premier League ever, to have only done that twice, are you sure about that?
Out of Vegas, yeah.
You sure about that?
Good,
you sure about that?
I'm sure.
Fucking right, God.
I am sure, mate. Everything that I listed before, everything. We're talking everything. We're talking best player ever, not best goal scorer, just the best.
But in his position, is that not best player ever to be?
I'm going to throw this back at you then, Kemp, because I think your definition of world class is flawed. I don't think the definition of world class is are you the best at your position in the world. That's 11 positions. And there's 11 world class players. I don't think that's the definition of world class.
And that's fair enough. And again, I know my definition of world class is different to a lot of other people's, maybe most people on the planet. But the reason that my definition is as such is because the amount of times I hear people saying, "Oh, he's world class," and they're really not.
And I agree with that.
And for me, And for me, that's why you have to have that definition of, right, what is world class? For me, world class means that you are the best in the world, in your position, in that season. And I don't understand and I don't know how we can kind of define world class apart from that. Because the amount of pundits and shit that I see that say, oh, he's world class. And they're talking about someone like James Maddison. And fair enough, James Maddison is a very good player. Let's not get it twisted. But he's not it's not world class. So I think for me, you've got to put a number on it. You've got to define it. And for me, that's how I define it. And for me, that's why I probably disagree with all you boys that Wayne Rooney was never world class. Purely because my opinion of world class is probably different. Dawson, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, just a very quick one, just off the back of what you said there about strikers have to be goal scorers or not necessarily that, but you know what I mean. So Thierry Henry recently in CBS Champions League coverage, the best TV football coverage in the world, I think him, Cara, Micah, led by Kate Hebdo, of course. They were all asked who's the best player that they've ever played with. And Thierry Henry, despite the phenomenal talent he's played with, including Lionel Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, all that, said the best player that he's ever played with was Dennis Bergkamp, a striker, never scored huge amount of goals, but his talent and his contribution to the team is undeniable. So would you then disagree that Dennis Bergkamp is world-class based on the fact that he's a striker, and if we got up his goal-scoring stats in the Premier League, we're never absolutely amazing?
Well, I can't disagree with Thierry Henry's assessment of who the best player he's ever played with is, because I've never played at top level and Thierry Henry has. But what I can say is that I don't agree that Dennis Bergkamp was ever world class, because my definition of world class is that you have to be the best in the world at that position. And for me, Dennis Bergkamp was never that. And that's why I don't agree with Thierry Henry in that respect. But again, I can't correct him or guide him in who the best player he's ever played with is, because that's his opinion and that's his career, and obviously he's seen it week in and week out on the training ground, and as we can all probably agree, Dennis Bergkamp, he did very, very special things, so we can't disagree with Thierry Henry there. Unless there's any more conversation on Wayne Rooney, Aggy, you are the penultimate person to go in my best player to play in the Premier League ever question. So Aggy, your thoughts on the best player to ever play in the Premier League?
I'm going to stick with the theme of Manchester United. I'm going to go for a player that I feel to a lot of supporters is quite underrated in comparison to some players that have ever played in the Premier League. He made 486 appearances, retired, came back out of retirement and won his 11th Premier League title with Manchester United. I'm going to go with Mr. Paul Scholes, who has only ever, saw these stats earlier, only ever actually been caught offside twice in his career in the Premier League, which I think's amazing within itself.
That's a mental stat.
Not bad for a CDM.
Also, I'm glad you mentioned CDM, because it brings me on to my next stat. According to the Premier League's website, he's only actually made one error in his career in the Premier League that's led to a goal in 499 Premier League appearances.
For me though, is that stat a bit opinion based?
No, mate, that's on the website. It's a stat.
Yeah, it'd be
like mistakes, an error that's led to a goal.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Because if he's giving away a foul, and then from that free kick, like 30 seconds after that free kick, the other team scored, then do they include that or do they not? Like that's a bit wishy-washy for me.
I cannot believe, and don't get me wrong, again, we're going to let you finish in a sec, mate. But I cannot believe of all the things Paul Scholes has achieved as a footballer, the goal at Villa Park, and how many goals he scored, how many
Bradford. Remember that one at Bradford?
Yeah, Bradford. How many assists he got? The one fucking thing you brought up first is the fact that he's made one mistake. You silly cunt.
No. I mentioned that because you said as a CDM. I mentioned that because you said as a CDM, so I thought it's worth chucking that in there. As you said, only twice offside as a CDM.
Compliant through and through, mate.
Still scored 107 goals throughout his Premier League career. 65% of the games in which he's played in for Manchester United have resulted in a United win.
Yeah, good that.
I think at club level, at international level, I think sometimes he may have been overlooked at international because of the Gerrard Lampard combination that were coming through.
International Scholes were just a farce, weren't it? Everyone knows that. It got so fucking unjustly managed at international level.
Absolutely.
They should have played the entire team around Paul Scholes, not fucking sending him out on left. So I'm weird on that, mate.
And how typical of it is that of English football in the 2000s that they absolutely flat out refused when they got maybe the best 3 centre midfielders in the world to play a 4-3-3. How English is that?
We're playing a 4-4-2 and that's it.
Prime Bassett. But yeah. 11 Premier League titles, like 2 Champions Leagues, 3 FA Cups. I'm struggling to poke holes in your Paul Scholes pick there, to be fair. Just thoughts on, obviously, you've picked Paul Scholes, but for me, with Manchester United, especially in sort of the last 20, 30 years, there are a few options for players of that sort of ilk. You've got your Scholes, you've got your Giggs, you've got your Gary Neville, you've got these players that were so consistent over that period of time. Why is it that you've decided for you that Paul Scholes is the person that you go with in that respect? And do you think that he was actually that good that he's better than a lot of the other players, maybe the flash in the pans or the players that have not been here for as long? Do you?
Yeah, can I answer this for him?
Of course.
The answer is because they have one thing in common that he doesn't have in common with any of the other players that you've just mentioned, and that is they both love chewing toenails.
I knew you were going to say that. I thought you were
going to say they both dropped cock out on pitch.
Okay, there you go. Ag's not done that because none of the pitches Ags have played on have got a massive dent in middle of the pitch. So you know, yeah, Ag. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
There's a couple of things that made it stand out for me. One of which is I've seen different reviews from players that have played up against him. Some greats like Zidane, like Pirlo, that have all made comments about how great he was on the pitch. But for me, the one defining factor was the fact that he retired from playing football. Manchester United, I think, were 3rd or 4th in the Premier League. He came out of retirement and assisted United in that Premier League title winning side. And I felt that to be a player, to be able to retire, come back out of retirement as a locker room leader, as somebody that can come out onto the pitch and change games and be so effective, I feel stands out. So that's why I've gone with the Paul Scholes.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fair. 466 appearances for Manchester United in his first stint, and then, as you mentioned, came out of retirement in 2012, 2013. 33 appearances, 5 goals, and obviously, as you say, led Manchester United to their most recent Premier League title. And I think what a lot of people don't realise about Scholes as well, he was only 5'6". You know, not a tall lad at all. But played in the middle of that park with Keno, and probably one of the best midfield partnerships of all time. I'm going to go with mine now, and it's probably the most predictable of everybody's. I started this question by saying that the reason that I brought this question up was because of Thierry Henry and that I thought he was the best player in Premier League history. And my opinion in those few months since that conversation has not changed. For me, the Vavavoom will always be the most powerful emotion in the Premier League. And for me, Thierry Henry, albeit my love for Arsenal is not 100%, is the best player to ever play in the Premier League. You look at what he did, some of the goals that he scored, and just some of the magic moments that he created. That goal against Man United where he flicked it over his head and fucking volleyed it past Barthez, who looked like a little child in net. It's one of the best goals I've ever seen. And you look at his contributions for Arsenal in the time that he spent there, however many goals he scored. I've not even got the stats up in front of me because I don't feel as though I need to back this one up, to be fair. But yeah, Thierry Henry helped Arsene Wenger most definitely lead Arsenal to a few league titles. I think one of the only thing that kind of goes against him maybe a little bit in his Arsenal career is that they never managed to win the Champions League, European Cup. But he went on to do that at Barcelona anyway, didn't he? But again, you know, we are just talking about Premier League. So for me, Thierry Henry, greatest player to ever play in the Premier League. And it's maybe a bit controversial for me because I poked holes in your Ronaldo one, Sam, because he'd not played in the Premier League maybe as long as other players. A surprising stat for me that between 1999 and 2007, when Thierry Henry played for Arsenal, 254 appearances.
Oh, okay.
So we all think he stayed there for ages and ages and ages, but actually he didn't probably stay there.
Same as Ronaldo, that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. You're exactly right. But again, for me, I just think Henry's peak was when he was at Arsenal, whereas I think Ronaldo's peak was when he was at Real Madrid, which is kind of what probably tips the scales on there for me. But yeah, I asked that question of you, Dawson, earlier. How many seasons did Rooney get 20 or more goals in that Manchester United team? Henry did that. He played less seasons. I think he played 7 seasons in the end. And I think it was 5 out of those 7 seasons. He got more than 20 goals a season for Arsenal. So you've got the return there. And again, for me, I think what separates Henry to those other players is that a lot of the time, he had to do it by himself. Yes, he had unbelievable players with him in that Invincibles team and stuff like that. But the amount of times that Henry would just create something out of nothing is kind of what separates him out of the pack from me. So, Thierry Henry is my choice, lads. Any thoughts?
Yes, I think a lot of Arsenal fans are going to be coming for you with fucking daggers after saying he did it all himself. And you look at his
I'm not saying that.
Lundberg, Pires, Bergkamp, Vieira.
World class, mate.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
It's a bold statement, that is.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that he didn't have to do it by himself, but there were rare occasions where he'd make something out of nothing. He'd create his own chances, is what definitely. I'm saying. Whereas I think somebody like Shearer, for example, who scored however many goals Shearer scored, 260. Yes, unbelievable goal scorer, but Shearer couldn't just make his own chances, run past 2 or 3 players and slot it in the bottom corner. He had to have good service, and fortunately enough for him, he did. But yeah, that's like I say, what kind of separates him. So Henry, Perez. All the other unbelievable players, Kemp, no disparagement at all, and no doubt Arsenal did have some.
Sylvain Wiltord.
I was going to say Wiltord out of everybody.
What a player! What a player!
Weird, but yeah, that's it for me. So yeah, that's mine done. Dawson.
Penultimate question of the week belongs to the man with the mic, Mr. Adam Marsden. Aggy, what is your question for the group this week?
Yes, I'm straying away from football ever so slightly and going to the National Football League. And I'm going to ask you, if you were to start a franchise tomorrow and you had to select a quarterback to lead your franchise, but that quarterback had to have been drafted either in the 2021, 22 or 23 draft, who is it you are selecting to lead your team forward? And Skin, I'm going to start with you on it.
For me, mate, I had a look obviously up and down the list and a couple of the names that made my short list. And I did change my answer a couple of times. But I have settled with the Indianapolis Colts' latest quarterback, Anthony Richardson, drafted number 4 overall this past draft. And for me, he is just the modern prototype of what you want in a QB. He's 6'4", he's 244 pounds. He's built like a linebacker, but he moves like an elite running back. And as well, he's got an arm as well. Speed, as I mentioned there, power in terms of how he can run. Inside that sort of 5-10 yards from the end zone, he's going to be a threat throughout his career, very much like a prime Cam Newton. Leadership as well. You see the stories that are coming out already since he was drafted early into this season. I know he's had a couple of injuries, but it just seems like he's the kind of person that you want in your locker room, you want in your franchise, you want as the face of the franchise. And to go with that is ultra talented as well across most aspects of what you'd want in a quarterback. So yeah, for me, if I'm starting a franchise tomorrow and I can take a quarterback that's been drafted in the last 3 years, Anthony Richardson is the man that I trust to get me where I want to be long term.
I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said the words Cam Newton. I think you're a very, very brave man if you're wanting to start your franchise around Richardson. He's 3 out of the 5 games he's played so far in the NFL, he's had to leave due to 3 completely different injuries. I think the bloke seems to have made a paper. I think, same as Cam Newton, he's got every chance he could be out of the league in 5 years' time because his play style is just so brutal that he just puts his body on the line every single play. And fair play to him to doing that, but he just, for me, he just seems like he's made a paper at the minute. And I think to base your whole franchise around that, I think that's like a bit of a roll of the dice for me.
It is, mate, but sometimes it pays off. And let's not forget how good Cam was in his prime. And I think Anthony Richardson could be even better.
Fair enough.
Maybe so. Sam, we'll jump across to you for yours now.
Yeah, I'm going to apologise this one because I must admit this is the one that I haven't got the most amount of prep for. But as I was having a good think around the league, I thought the last 3 years of quarterbacks have been drafted, and there was one clear standout to me. And the buzz from him came way before his NFL career, and the buzz coming into the draft around one Trevor Lawrence was just unbelievable. It was one of them absolute nailed on number one. No one need to debate who was going first. It was always who was going to be drafted second, because he was going to be the guy that was going in. Everyone said the words Andrew Luck. I think it reminded everybody of Andrew Luck coming into the league. It was like that kind of, you can't miss with Trevor Lawrence. And to be fair, the first season he had in the league was pretty rough. Just having a look at his stats, I think 21 season, 12 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, which is a pretty poor return. It's Justin Fields level kind of production, that is. But yeah, it turned it around. He obviously was dealing with Urban Meyer and all that background shit, and probably the worst coaching staff in the league, probably ever in the NFL. Actually, probably the worst coach staff we've ever seen the likes of. And to be fair to him, he managed to put that season to bed. Next season, 2022 season, he come out 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and it just showed you what can happen when you put a positive coach behind a quarterback. And yeah, for me, Trevor Lawrence, prototypical. He's got the size, 6'6", 6'7", built like a ton of bricks.
Beat me to it.
But yeah, for me, Trevor Lawrence would be the guy that I'm banking my entire franchise on.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. Starting to pick up, of course, in his third year in the NFL at the moment, just showing why he was the number 1 overall pick in 2021. Kemp, we'll come across to you for yours.
Yeah, so from the number 1 overall pick in 2021, we're going to take it to Mr. Irrelevant in 2022.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is my choice for my franchise QB for Kempy's franchise moving forward in the NFL. As I say, Mr. Irrelevant pick up by the San Francisco 49ers. Trey Lance looked like he was pretty comfortable in that role for the 49ers last season. But then Brock Purdy kind of took over last season, and he's never really looked back since. Now Trey Lance is kind of out in the wilderness, and Brock Purdy is the franchise guy. He's the one that they're going with. Since he's been playing in the NFL, 22 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, which is really, really good going. That's a really fantastic stat line for me. Completion percentage of 69.3% and a passer rating of 114.4. Again, Mr. Irrelevant, 6'1", 220 pounds. So maybe not the carve him out of stone quarterback that you could kind of build from the ground up. But for me, the stats don't lie. And the stats say Brock Purdy winner for me at sacrifice. So I'm going Brock Purdy as my franchise QB.
What do you say to the people that say he is a product of the system? Kyle Shanahan, probably the greatest offensive mind in football right now. The loaded roster offense, you could stick most quarterbacks in there and they're going to do a job. What do you say to them people that say it's more Shanahan than it is Brock Purdy?
I think you could say that about a lot of really good quality quarterbacks in the past. I think the argument for Tom Brady for a long, long time was that he was a system quarterback. Yes, he proved a lot of people wrong when he went to the Buccaneers in the end, I think. But yeah, you can say that about a lot of QBs. And I think for me, even if that is the case, you've still got to make the throws, right? You've still got to do the business.
Absolutely.
And for me, he looks very, very calm. He's he's not very often under pressure, but when he is under pressure, he looks very calm. He's not flustered. He's not thrown 1 interception so far this season, and we're through week 5, and that's really good going for me. But yeah, I think he's got it all, and I think from what I've seen of him, the interviews that I've seen, and the stuff that I've seen of him in his career, he seems like he's got the right temperament as well. It seems like he's a good character. And you can't say that about a lot of quarterbacks. I think a lot of them have been kind of the stud since they were a kid, and it's kind of got to the head. So for me, I think Brock Purdy, not just on the field but off the field, will be a really good representation of the franchise as well. So it all takes into account, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, love that.
And I think the mindset as well from being Mr. Irrelevant, you can think, at least I didn't go undrafted, but oh God, Mr. Irrelevant, nobody wanted me. And it could really get to you. But, he's used that as fuel, hasn't he? And now look at him. He's firing on all cylinders, playing for one of the best 2 teams in the NFL at the moment, and he's leading the charge.
Yeah, he's definitely come into the league with a chip on his shoulder, hasn't he? Because of that.
I guess there's less pressure as well when you go as the last overall draft pick to be able to just relax and settle into the league a little bit more. Now, I'm going to go with a guy that, Sam, you've mentioned ever so briefly. I know you mentioned him quite a bit in the preview show for the NFL. I'm going to go with Justin Fields. I think that with the right leadership off field, I think he could be a very good quarterback, much better than what we're actually seeing from him right now. He's obviously a very good runner of the ball, holds the NFL record for the most runs for a quarterback or the most rushing yards for a quarterback within a game. He's had 11 rushing touchdowns in his 2 seasons so far. His touchdown to interception ratio isn't great, which is why I said that you need like a head coach and offensive coordinator that's going to be able to work towards his style. I think something that he hasn't been able to get with the Bears at the moment is the idea of a franchise is to build around your quarterback, play what suits them. And they're not doing that at the moment. And I feel like with the right leadership, Justin Fields could be a very good quarterback in the NFL.
Now, I know he's not got a great offensive line, so I will kind of forgive him that. But he's mobile, so a mobile QB can tend to hide deficiencies in an O-line. You look at Russell Wilson with the Seahawks; he didn't have an O-line for years, and he managed to make that offense tick. The Bears have gone out this offseason and they spunked a load of draft capital and went and got DJ Moore. So they're trying to build around him. They brought in Chase Claypool mid-season last season. That's clearly not worked out. He seems to have personality issues and all different kinds of issues, really. But it does look like the fact. I mean, like I say, DJ Moore, he's a number one receiver. He's a talent, and they sacrificed the number one pick as part of that deal to get him. So they have made certain moves to get him, and surely, should we not be seeing a little bit more from him coming into, year 3 now? And it doesn't seem to have that leadership quality where he can put the team on his back and carry the team. Would you disagree with that?
To an extent, no. But again, this is only his second year in the league at the moment. And of the three of you, it was you I expected to make a comment about Justin Fields out of anyone, to be fair. Always going to happen, yeah. Yeah, I feel like there should be a little bit more production that we should be seeing from him. But again, a 40-20 win that happened last weekend, a sign in a point in the right direction. I just, like I say, with the right personnel, the right playbook to suit his style, like you say, he's a rushing quarterback that's very good on his feet, very quick on his feet as well. He can sometimes be a little bit, his decision making could be a little bit wrong when it comes to, getting rid of the ball at the right time, that kind of thing as well. You
ain't kidding. That's his. I think that's his worst part about his entire game. Decision making.
So I think there's potential there for him with the right personnel to point him in that right direction. Is what I'm trying to say with Justin Fields, which is why I've gone for him.
Maybe. I think we've seen quite a few clips where he's stood there with the ball. It looks like he's had about 8 seconds to throw it, and there's receivers getting open all over the field, and he's just not pulling the trigger. He's gun shy. He just seems to not know what he's doing. No one's pulled trigger. So maybe you are right. Maybe in a better situation, a more offensive-minded coach, he probably would do a bit better. So, yeah, I'd probably agree with you to an extent. But,
I think that's the word I'd use for Justin Field, gun shy. I think that's the word. You've summed it up perfectly there, because I think he's very mobile. He can run. We've seen that, but I think he relies on it a little bit too much at times. And I think he's like, no, not quite. And he's like, shit, I've got to run. But it's all right because I know I've got my legs there. But ultimately, that doesn't work all the time. If the opportunity is there to make that pass. You've got to be more clinical. So for me, yes, there are issues off the field at Chicago, and Tina, bless him's been talking about the coaching staff and the inability to put a decent game plan together for the vast majority of the season for the Chicago Bears. But yeah, Fields is going to be a top quarterback. He needs to know how to pull the trigger and make the most of those opportunities.
There we go. Skin.
There we go. Well, leaves me. I was last to come out on the wheel, so it does leave me. Now, you may have noticed, lads, I know you can't see everything, but our viewers, you may notice that I'm wearing a 1998 England home shirt, and I have got the number 7, which obviously means David Beckham is on the back of it, a classic retro shirt. And we are, of course, at another international break weekend with England playing Australia and Italy over the next few days. So I wanted to base my question around that. My question to you all is, who is your favourite England player of all time? And you're basing it purely on what they did in an England shirt. And Kemp, we have spoken many times on this podcast and off it about your thoughts on the England national squad and what they should achieve and why they're not achieving it and everything in between. But let's have some good England memories from you for a change. Who is your favourite England player of all time? And of course, why?
Yeah, and I think I might throw quite a few people off guard with this one. There've been some unbelievable players who've played for England, but they've probably not shown their best colours while they've played for England, if that makes sense. We talked about a few of them on the podcast already tonight, Scholes, Rooney being a couple of them. But I think somebody who always does show up for England and always does show up in 100%, vast majority of the time, is Harry Kane, England's top goal scorer. I was tempted to go with somebody from history. I was tempted to go maybe like a Brian Robson or a Bobby Charlton or somebody like that, who's maybe, especially in Bobby Charlton's case, had a lot more success as an England player than Harry Kane has. But actually, I don't think it's fair for this conversation to go with somebody that you've actually not seen play for England yourself, which is why I landed on Harry Kane. For me, I think he's the only player really, or one of the very few players kind of consistently over the past 8 years who's been just as good for his country as he has for his club. I think a lot of the time you do get a lot of players that play really, really well for their club, but actually when it comes to country, they can't quite do the same thing. Whereas for me, Harry Kane, although we do kick off about him dropping deep at times, he's always delivered the goods for England. 52 or 53 goals, I think it is now for England. And then, like I say, he's the top goal scorer ever to play for the national team. England captain. I've said my piece on Southgate, but I think these players really, in spite of Southgate, have done okay. Probably could have done a little bit better, but I think Harry Kane has been in the epitome of everything that's been good about the England team for the past few years. And there has been plenty of good about the England team for the past few years. So for me, in my opinion, the current England captain and top goal scorer of all time, Harry Kane, is my pick for best England player, in my opinion.
Not best England player, your favourite England player.
Well, favourite England player then.
There's a difference.
I don't know how I feel about that, Harry Kane. I've never really thought of him as a favourite. But yeah, nice, ultimate professional, isn't he? He epitomises the England captain. I think when he got the captain's armband, I think there was quite a few eyebrows raised at him being the captain. And was he...
Mainly from Adam. He doesn't like a striker having the armband.
Yeah. Tradition.
59 goals for England now. 59 in 86 games, which I think is really impressive.
Unbelievable return.
It is. And again, I think I could have said Kyle Walker, I could have said Jagielka, boys that are quite close to my heart and have wore the England strip, former Sheffield United players that have come through the academy, etc., etc. But again, what do I want to see from an international player? I want to see them deliver for the internationals just as much as they do for their club. And for me, that's what Harry Kane's done. And again, I don't think there's many players throughout history that can say they've done that, especially for England. So that's where I'm going with that one, Dawson.
That's fair. Aggy, I say similar, sorry, the complete opposite to Kemp in terms of your assessment of the England team. You have spent your around 30 years on this planet constantly celebrating and chanting that it's coming home, and I've no doubt that you will over the next 30 years and for the rest of the years that you spend on this planet. But who have you got as your favourite England player of all time?
I have gone for a player that scored on a regular basis, despite being plagued by injuries for England, from the under-15 level all the way through to England's first team, and finished with 84 goals in 127 games. I am going for Michael Owen. He scored...
I think he's just included goals at every level because he's...
I'm thinking 80-odd goals for England. I think record's like 59.
No, he scored... That's across all levels, sorry. Yeah, in 127 games across all, from under 15 up to when he played in the first team.
Fucking I got him from a 14. Well done, mate. He's 13.
I cannot believe I'm hearing of Michael Owen's under 15's goals.
All I'm saying is I was asked based upon their England career only. So I've looked at every game that he's played for England.
And you're the only bloke that would have took into account the performance at under 15 level. Let's just put that out.
No, I'm the only bloke that looks at him and thinks, he was consistent at every level when he was playing for England. Towards the latter stage of his career, when he got hit by injuries, I know that was a little bit tough for him. But other than that,
Michael Owen's 43 now, so that's 30 years ago that Ag's talking about being an under 15.
Depends how old he is now. I'm not talking about now, am I? You're asking me a question, I'm telling you the answer. Shut up and listen. So he scored in 66% of the games that he's played for England.
Full, the men's team, or again, you still included everything?
It's still together. It's still
included everything.
No, because the question was, is England career? Right, that's not necessarily just first team, is it? That's top to bottom.
No, under 15.
That's right.
I don't give a shit. If he's played for England at the young level all the way up to the top, that shows his consistency at all levels, doesn't it?
The question Dawson asked was the favourite England player and what they did in an England shirt. So
this is what he's done in England shirt.
Okay. So the question is, as Sander said there, who is your favourite England player of all time? So answer me this, right? Answer me this. Outside of the full men's national team, how many games have you seen of Michael Owen playing in an England shirt at any other level than the men's senior team?
I haven't.
What are you talking about?
Why are you bringing these fucking goals in? They're irrelevant goals.
They're not irrelevant goals.
You've not seen any of these games, any of these performances, but using that to base it for him being your favourite player.
So based upon what I've seen of Michael Owen in England shirt, from the games that I've seen, Michael Owen is my favourite England player.
That's fine.
Now just explain
the
reason
that's
why.
Fine. That's fine, but all these fucking stats about he scored in 66% of England games that he's played in, leave them at the fucking door, mate. He scored 40 goals in 89 games. It's still an impressive return.
Yes, that's decent.
But let's not talk about his 8 goals at under 15 level, mate, because we don't fucking know what happened there. He might have played against fucking Dog and Duck for England under 15s. You don't know.
Carry on, mate. Carry on.
Mate, moment's gone. Michael Owen's my favourite, that's it.
Carry on trying to justify a perfectly reasonable answer in the most unjustifiable way ever.
It's
It's
the second time, though, isn't it? It's gone Michael Owen under 15 goals. It's gone Paul Scholes that is only attributed to one mistake in the Premier. Who's picking out these fucking stats?
You said not bad for a CDM, and I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll give you a defensive stat for it.
Mate, trust me, I did not pick out that stat. Let's not get it fucking twisted.
No.
You had that locked and loaded. That was like you were scrambling for it.
The issue isn't that I used that stat. The issue is that I used it as one of the main opening stats. The reason I did that was because when I mentioned it had only been caught offside twice, Sam's like, that's good for a CDM who obviously doesn't get forward much. So I thought I'd go for a defensive stat.
Stupidest stats ever.
So I thought I'd go for a defensive stat.
Played for like 20 years and you're picking offsides and mistakes leading to goals. You're not talking about his goals, his Premier League, his Champions Leagues. And now you're talking about Michael Owen when he was in fucking matches.
I've never seen it like this. I've never seen it like it. Michael Owen, of all the shit we poke fun at you and that, this is number one. Michael
Owen's a bad shout at all.
No. Again, you're getting it twisted. Michael Owen's a perfectly reasonable answer. And if you'd have said, I'm picking Michael Owen because he scored 40 goals in 80 games, he was my favourite player growing up, that goal against Argentina, blah, 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 we would have said, yeah, fair enough, mate, can't argue with that. But the fact that you've then said, for his goals at under 15s level...
No, I'm telling you how many goals he scored throughout his England career. I'm only telling you something, and you're jumping on my back as if I'm trying to justify why he's the best player ever.
Too fucking right we are. Too fucking right we're jumping on your back.
It's bad.
It's not fucking bad.
Aggy, if there's a positive to take from this, mate, we live in a world where
I can't answer questions.
No. I'm trying to give you a compliment here, mate, and potentially something to look at doing in the future. But we live in a world where we're lacking unique content. So if you fancy setting up, say, a page on X that is about stats and just bringing out all these stats that nobody is talking about, that's definitely unique, mate. So it's all right you saying you were going to get to Scholes' goals and assists and all this kind of stuff, but the fact that you opened with what you opened with, mate, that should have been a cherry on the top, maybe. But anyway, it's by the by.
Move on.
Perfectly reasonable answer, mate. It's a shame that we had to get to it the way that we got to it. But anyway, Sam, we have had Harry Kane from the modern era. We've had Michael Owen from an era that has now been and gone. Who are you bring to the table as your favourite player ever to play for England?
Favourite player ever? I wear this man close to my heart. Worshipped him as a kid. So we're going back. Just do the world a favour, mate. Stand up and just turn around and just show the world your shit.
Am I literally wearing it close to my heart?
Make sure you've got pants on.
I haven't, mate. So if this is on if this has finally clicked on the gallery view, we fucked it, mate. But
it don't matter, does it?
There we go. Check Butty. Speak so they can see it.
Hello, you all right? How you going on? All right.
There you go. David Beckham is my all-time favourite.
Camera all right there? Can you
you're all right, mate. You can sit back down. You can sit back down. You don't have to stay there for the rest of the fucking show.
My knees can't handle that.
No. You're getting over me. David Beckham for me. I absolutely worship the guy as a kid. Got all the same hairstyles. Every hairstyle he changed into. I got the Mohican.
Mohawk.
Yeah. Got everything that he did. All my shirts were Beckham 7 on growing up. United, couple of United and England, but just looking through a couple of a couple of things about him today again, and obviously recently watching the new Beckham documentary, which just brought back so many emotions and feelings that I'd forgot I had actually about that man. And I just, when you look at someone, you like your hero growing up, I thought, oh yeah, just watching that, it were unbelievable. The free kick against Greece, I mean, iconic goal, probably the most number one iconic England goal of all time.
I still remember us going out to play football like the second that game finished, and I was like, this
reenacting.
Is genuine. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to be Teddy Sheringham, who obviously scored, and you were like, I'm David Beckham, like when you used to try and be. And I still remember that as clear as day. Like literally within seconds of that game finishing, we were out and we were saying that. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just absolutely love the guy from an early age. The shit, obviously, you're wearing the infamous 98 shirt. The shit he put up with in 98 from the media and the English side of it was just fucking abhorrent. And this is pre-social media. Can you imagine that sort of thing today? I mean, there were no care for men's mental health or anything like that back then. And
we saw it, if you remember, with after the penalty shootout loss against Italy with Sancho, Rashford, and Osaka. Like that then was just fucking mad. But I suppose, so completely agree.
I suppose it was really, but I mean, that's racism, is it? I mean, that was something on probably a larger scale, like in terms of society.
Intense attention from social media. Obviously, they didn't get it from the media side. That was completely night and day. But in terms of that, just access from fans and
But yeah, I think it would go into grounds. It was like going on for like 3-4 months into the season. Like it weren't seeming to be letting up. And I know the very first game he come back to England, it was at West Ham at Upton Park, and they absolutely buried him. And then it was just, bear in mind, they were what, like 20 at the time, not even that. I think might have been 18 or something like that. And it was just. It was a young boy, really, that put up all this shit, and it kept up. And a few years later, become the England captain. And I thought you just knew he always wore the armband with pride. And I think it comes through in that documentary that the one thing he really loved more than anything was playing for his country. That was like his number one. And
he was 23, mate. I've just very quickly done a check.
23 was very young. Very, very young indeed. And I do remember they did a bit of a class project back in primary school, and me and Jay Chadburn, a little throwback from the past, me and him were always proper Beckham fans. We'd always have the same hair and everything like that. And one of the class projects was to write to your hero. And we wrote to David Beckham, and they wrote back. I mean, I don't think it was him, to be honest. I think it was probably his PR team and United's PR team, and I got like some cards with his signature and loads of things. And you know what? I fucking lost him, and I cannot think what I've done with him and all. I'm a bit heartbroken about that. And I've got them open. I'm open at the mum and dad's house because I would like to dig them out one day. But I remember when we moved out, I can't ever remember seeing him, so a bit gutted about that. But yeah, David Beckham for me. He was watching that documentary brought back so many feelings that I had for the man, and it was one of the main reasons why I got into liking football in the first place. So yeah, it's love the man, David Beckham.
Like it, mate. I probably should have saved that for the last answer. To be fair, great answer and great reasoning. That's how you do it, Aggy. But anyway, so I suppose I'll close us off. And,
sorry, I've got. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to have to interrupt you, Sham.
No.
You've given us some fantastic memories there, some good stats. It's all fantastic. But I think what the viewers really want to know is how did David Beckham get on at under 15 level?
Yeah, not great, mate. Not great. Struggled. Didn't get to United till they were 15.
Well, you better fucking pick another one then, hadn't you? That's just...
Yeah, no good, is it that?
Well, absolutely not. So I'll close us off, and I've gone. Aggie, you've obviously gone goal scorer. Kemp, you've gone for the top goal scorer of all time. Sam, you've gone for an absolute behemoth and an idol. But again, changed my answers several different times. Owen did pop into my mind. Beckham, of course, as well. But then I thought, throughout the years, when have I been the happiest as an England fan? And of course, we look at the 90s. My first tournament was 1998, a tournament that even now I have vivid memories of. Michael Owen scoring that goal against Argentina that you mentioned earlier, Sam. Then you look at the golden generation during the 2000s, or certainly early to mid 2000s, and your Rooney's, your Gerrards, your Lampards, but they disappointed. They never got to the level that we expected them. So I couldn't put my name to a player. So again, going back to that earlier question that I mentioned there, when was I happiest as an England fan? And it was World Cup 2018, the best summer of our lives, lads. The beautiful weather, the tournament, the hope. Going into it with not really much hope at all after what happened at Euro 2016 and that embarrassing loss to Iceland. And just everything about it, the atmosphere. Sam, we were obviously right there watching every game. Kemp, I think you were there for a couple, if I remember rightly, and then Euro 2021, all being together watching it again, and that squad. And again, we have the conversations now about what Southgate's done, and has he taken them as far as he can. But my happiest time as an England fan were those two tournaments, and a man that was right in and amongst it, showed the passion, showed the skill, was a big reason why they got to where they were, and was a real leading light. And it might be a bit weird that I'm naming this player as my favourite ever England player, but I've got to go for Jordan Pickford, lads.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? As you're saying, the 2018 and 2020, 2021 Euros, I'm going round and I'm literally thinking in my head at the position. I'm thinking, I can't think of who this is going to. Obviously, Kemp's already said Kane, so I knew you wouldn't want the same answer as him. And Jordan Pickford, wow. Yeah, it's, shed a bit of light on that one.
I just everything, we always talk about his passion in an England shirt, how he dictates the team. The game plan was built around him being at the back and having that skill with his feet. World Cup 2018, that big save in the last minute against Colombia. Obviously, they went on to score from a corner, but that wonder save that he made, the save in the penalty shootout, which was such a big relief. Like, we couldn't believe it. We'd finally seen England win a penalty shootout, and he made that massive save to obviously give Eric Dyer the chance to win it for them. Euro 2020/2021, he was phenomenal. Didn't concede a goal from open play until the final. And for me, if you actually go back and watch that goal, he made a world-class wonder save, which unfortunately then rebounded for Italy to poke in. But if you actually see the save, and then again, 2 saves in the penalty shootout, Jorginho stepping up. We were all there, Star Car Park, shit weather, couldn't believe it. England were a penalty shootout win away from winning the major tournament finally, and Italy needed to score to win, and Jorginho stepped up, and we all looked at each other as if to say it's over. We know how good of a penalty taker he was, but Jordan Pickford stood strong, didn't fall for his technique, didn't fall for the stutter, and he made that save. So, again, we can talk about who actually produced for England, the big moments and everything else like that, but if we're talking about a favourite, I have to relate that to what made me happiest, and that is the modern era team, and whose individual input to that made me happiest, and a lot of it led back to Jordan Pickford in those moments. So, yeah, probably an out there shot, and if we put it to our listeners and our viewers and we put it on social media, I probably won't get back much. But for me personally, I've got to give him a shout out.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely an outside shout. I think the conversation definitely going into Euro 2021, as it were, should Pickford be number one? His performances for Everton that season, I think, have been pretty subpar. And I think the conversation was around, well, we've got Pope, we've got Ramsdale, who's looking pretty good. Should Pickford be the number one goalkeeper? And to be fair, while ever Pickford has played for England, I think he's always done pretty well. And for me, Southgate's always talking about picking players on form, and I don't want to get onto that fraud if I don't have to. But I think Pickford, with the performances that he's put in for England, I can definitely see why he's up there as one of your favourites. But I think it's a bit of an outside shout when you think of all the players that have played for England over the years. But as is your right.
I respect it. It's funny actually, because as you mentioned, the Colombia penalty, we as you say, we watched it at the Sherland Welfare, RIP. But I'd got it recorded at home so I could go back and watch it, and went back and I watched the penalty shootout about 5 times. Just kept rewinding it and watching it, and I sat and watched it that many times. Obviously, Katie was with me. That one of the lines on the commentary when Pickford makes the final save, it's big right hand or strong right hand or something like that. Strong right hand, I think it was. And now every time me and Katie like watching football and a goalkeeper makes a save, no matter which hand it is or which foot it is, she straight away goes, "Oh yeah, big right hand," and it's always just harking back to Jordan Pickford. So that just always makes me think of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's an outside shout, but I'm sticking with it, and I'm happy with it. But lads, that's episode 72 in the books, the new era of loaded sport. And I don't know about you lot, but I've quite enjoyed that.
Good, mate. Very good.
Good.
Yeah, definitely enjoyed it. Obviously, if anybody wants to provide their feedback, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that sort of thing, we'd like to hear your feedback on the new format and how it compares to the OG format. It'd be interesting to see what you thought. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it's made a very nice change.
And even more importantly, probably, is that share your answers to the questions that we've asked tonight. It'd be good to hear, and maybe someone out there has backed Jordan Pickford as well.
No,
we'll soon find out. No.
Maybe his mum and dad.
Yeah, no. I'll stick with that then, and I'll claim that one. But anyway, lads, weekends. Sam, I'm going to come to you first, mate. What you got planned for the weekend?
I think this is about 4th time in a row that now since Skeg, isn't it? I think ever since I've come back from Skeg, I've had the exact same answer to you, and yeah, I don't think I'm going to do anything this weekend. I've not got any plans. I know the weekend after I'm going out for a meal, so I know I've got plans then. But in terms of this weekend, it's going to be watching a lot of sport, probably a lot of England, NFL on Sunday. The thing that's pissing me off the most is that Packers are on a bye week, so NFL's going to be a bit more drab this week without my boys being able to watch, and I've not watched them since the Thursday before I went to Skegness, which feels like forever ago. So they played on the Thursday, then they played on Monday Night Football. This Monday just gone, and fucking less said about that the better. And now they're on a bye week, so it's going to be about a month since I've last watched them. So there we go.
You'll be chomping at the bit, as they say, to do that.
Denver next week. Denver next game. You fucking want winning that, don't you?
Yeah, so it's a winnable game. That Aggy, what have you got planned for the weekend, mate?
I've got the weekend off from doing football commentary, but I've got Phoebe's 5th birthday party on Saturday. Then she turns 5 on Sunday, just to make you guys feel old, because you've known me since she was, I think she was just born, wasn't she, when I first met you guys? But yeah, she's now 5, so that's time has flown. So that's pretty much my weekend occupied and spoken for.
Yeah, should be pretty busy, mate. Kemp, what about you, mate?
Well, for the first time in a long time, I've got absolutely nothing planned for this weekend.
Mate, looking forward to it all.
I am. No golf. I'm going to take a bit of a break from that. I'll go out for a bike ride on Sunday probably, and then just bits of England, bits of the NFL. There's a bit of YouTube boxing taking place on Saturday night. So whenever I tell myself that I'm not going to watch it, the better half likes watching a car crash. Misfits. She likes watching a bit of Misfits. She likes watching the car crash boxing. All the technical proficiency from the professional boxers, she's not quite happy about that. She just wants to see 2 idiots go in there and start throwing leather. So we'll probably watch that on Saturday night as well. Dawson?
Yeah?
What are you doing?
Yeah,
Is me saying Dawson not a big enough like you?
I wanted to check, mate. I thought you were just handing it back to me to say good night to everyone and then hit stop and record. But little bit of this, little bit of that. I'm going for a curry tomorrow night, and gonna watch a bit of telly. I have to catch up on a few things that I've not been able to watch. Saturday, it's FA Cup weekend, lads. With the international break, it's the 4th qualifying round for a place in the first round proper. We're going to see Chesterfield take on the mighty Kettering Town from the 7th tier.
How much are they charging for that?
You might be happy with this one, mate. For children, for under 16s,
hang on. I'm not under 16, so...
Michael Owen will be fucking gutted.
That's it. So you're glad I said it now, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Go on then.
Under 16s is £6, and adults is £12. And also, they have reduced beer on the concourse for the day, and it will be £3.50 a pint. So I'll sup a couple.
Reducing beer to £3.50 is a bad state to be in, isn't it? Thatcher's Britain.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll be watching that, mate. Potential cup set on the cards, but I was there last season for the 2nd and 3rd round games, and they played very, very well. And with it being at that level, obviously not huge amounts of squad depth, so should be a relatively comfortable win. But we'll see. And then Sunday, just usual, really nice and chilled. Take it steady, cook a bit of a dinner in the evening, and get the feet up ready for Red Zone at 6 o'clock. Can't wait. So yeah. That's my weekend. But lads, that's episode 72. That's a new era of Loaded Sport. And of course, let us know your feedback, let us know your answers, and start prepping. Aggy, you've got a week, mate, to start prepping your questions, so plenty of time. But lads, have a good weekend and have a good week, and I'll see you next week.
Enjoy your night.
Enjoy your night.
Enjoy your night.